you that the sojourn of Nebuchadnezzar as the wild man. Now notice they got him eating grass because they want him to be depicted as a wild man, a goat. But remember, his kingdom was going to be restored to him. Okay, so now they got Hiram in this tomb of sorts. He's locked in this sarcophagi. And where is this sarcophagi at? Now, when you look at the pyramid structure and the king and the queen chambers, the Great Pyramid has a deep shaft that goes into the water. And it goes all the way down, and then they find what they call the tomb of Osiris. And the tomb of Osiris is huge. But if you do what they call the orientation, which means the measurements of something in relation to something else, the orientation will tell you that the tomb of Osiris rests at the same orientation as the sacral chakra is from the crown chakra, or what they call the king's seat. And when you look at the king's chamber in the pyramid, you will see what is known as the king chamber in the brain. We know it to be your pineal gland. The queen chamber being your pituitary gland. Now, in the raising the Hiram, you're going to need a Leo. You're going to need a Leo, and you're going to need a symbolic representation of the Great Pyramid Complex, which takes us to Paris. Now, how did we just get from Egypt and the Pyramid Complex to Paris? Because Paris is the city of the French. So you got to know your American history, because this is the land in which Hiram is raised, right over here. And I'm going to show you how, and this is all necessary. And I'll go into more detail in another one later on called The Last Grail King, the Holy Grail, Spear of Destiny. That's another video for later. But Hiram would send you straight to Paris. And then he would tell you, pay attention to the symbols, pay attention to the names. When you get to Paris, you'll realize that Paris has the Eiffel Tower, and Paris is called Par-Isis, which means the city of Isis. Like Parthodon means the city of Athena. And so the Par-Isis is the city of Isis. Who is Isis? Isis is the queen of heaven and earth. This is her stuff, right? So if Isis, being the queen of heaven and earth, has a city in France, we need to pay attention to that. Now, yesterday you seen the top of the Notre Dame building.
What was just said, but I don't hear it now. So what I was basically presenting to you was, I've been getting a lot of information sent to me concerning this banking situation, as they're saying October the 1st, the banks are going to crash on a global level. And that's what I pretty much wanted you to address, because I know that you are familiar with a lot of those things.
Okay, if you pay attention, the stock markets, right, is experiencing a lot of downturns in the market. Everything is trending down in the stock market. Okay, the Vatican holdings, they saying it's only a couple $2 billion, but it's at least $1 trillion. It's at least $1 trillion hole going to be in the global economy.
Oh, wow.
Right? That's a big hole. It's going to cause banks to start folding up. I was listening to Charlie Ward the other day. He was saying that his wife couldn't even get money out the bank because the banks are no longer liquid. There's no fluidity in the currency. I mean, they don't have cash or money to give you on reserve. Their reserves is depleted. So we're looking at all of this is cumulative, right? So all of that from him calling in the money to like 10, 12 days later, they announced Queen Elizabeth is dead. And all of these things is like, because she been gone, right? Though they just now announced it on I think it was the 9th right? So the effect is when the Vatican get done calling in all of their assets, none of the global economies is going to be able to stand because the Vatican is who issued letters patent to charter each one of these legal fictions that we call governments.
Right.
They are the holders of the deed or the title to all of those. And that's the money they calling in.
Isn't that the same thing as saying like the Vatican pretty much control world governments?
They do. It's a collaboration, right? The collaboration is 3 city-states. It's always been 3 city-states. They just moved 2 of the cities, well, really 1 of the cities from the military strength. So now the 3 city-states is the Vatican City, London, and DC. Now DC is closed, right? So if you go to the maps, Google Maps, or go to your map on iPhone and put in White House 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, it's going to tell you that it's permanently closed, right?
Okay.
That all of that's because this shit is over with. We right now trying to get the grassroots aware of what the elites are doing so they not caught so off guard. And then you have idiots that think we crazy because we telling them what to look for and what we seeing.
So with that being said, what is it? First of all, can you explain a little more in depth as far as like the specifics of how we're actually going to be affected by all this?
We can't say that because this has never happened before. There's no frame of reference. There's no frame of reference to say what it's going to look like. You can just only identify the building falling. You can't identify the crash site after the math, in the aftermath of the falling building. This is over with right now. We definitely going to have an economic drought for at least 60 days. People are going to be, a lot of the energy companies, like people scared to stop paying their bills because they don't want to interrupt their electric and their gas. It's coming. Your lights going to get turned off. Your gas going to get turned off. Maybe even your water going to get turned off. If you don't know how to survive off the fat of the land, you might not make it through them 60 days. It's going to be a lot of elderly people that's going to be put to rest because they own oxygen machines, ventilators, and all that shit. They don't have electricity. If they at home, you need a backup generator. If you don't got one, you ain't going to make it.
Right, because my mother is on oxygen. Actually, the house that I stay in now, my mother actually left it to me and moved back up north to Maryland with my sister because, pretty much with her health, my sister is a nurse. She can better care for her. But yeah, my mother's on oxygen. So in other words, you're saying that we really don't know what to expect and how detrimental that this banking catastrophe can actually have an effect on us.
No, there's no frame of reference. It's gonna get bad, but it's only gonna be bad for a limited amount of time.
And why is that?
Because all of these systems is collapsing.
Right.
The government that they run in the pantomime show, as Charlie Ward called it, it's just a stage show. They got like 14 Joe Bidens. I can't even count all of the motherfuckers I didn't see.
Bro said you can't even count all these motherfuckers. Okay,
right.
So should we keep our money in the banks? Should we take?
If I was you, I already took mine out. I would convert as much of my money into what they call precious metals as possible.
Like we were speaking about the other night, gold and silver.
Right, because the new economy is going to be predicated upon a substance-backed utility. It's not going to be a fiat.
Which is what we're in now, funny money.
Right.
Basically, funny money.
Yeah, monopoly money.
Yeah. So let's say, for example, a person that has $250,000 in the bank. What you suggest is that they go get $250,000 worth of gold.
Gold and silver, yeah.
Or silver. And is this going to be a means that we'll be able to still trade with the stores or companies that can remain open if there's a such thing as, because it almost seems like everybody's going down, even the companies. So there'll be no bartering and trading. You just have to sort of hold it until everything goes back to normal.
Well, it ain't. Well, they consider normal ain't finna come back, but we're gonna have a new normal. The new normal is gonna be more prosperous than the old normal. But in order to get to that, we're gonna have to go. You can't have a baby without labor.
Right.
Right? It's just not gonna happen. This new world that's coming up is not gonna appear until the old world is destroyed. It's just like we already lived yesterday. We can't go back and relive that motherfucker. We done with it. We moving into the future.
Basically.
And the closest thing you can do to reliving yesterday is mirror it in the future. That's it. That's the closest you can get.
So, a lot of people are afraid of all of this that's coming because I think that they're not really cognizant as to the effects. And like you said, there's really no rhyme and reason or no script or nothing that we can actually measure it to. From your personal perspective, what would you suggest people do living wise? Because I mean, people can't live.
You froze.
Without electricity. People either.
Look, they gonna have to figure it out. You're gonna have to learn how to live off the fat of land because they're not paying people like me any attention. They writing us off as crazy until they caught in the condition, in the position that they can't defend themselves. They're gonna be at the mercy of nature.
You sure know what to say, because it's like the more you try to prep them in advance, again, they start saying that we crazy is wrong with us. But as soon as they get their ass in the actual problem, then now they running and looking for us for help.
Yeah, I ain't gonna be able to be reached. Because while that shit going on, listen,
I ain't gonna be able to be reached.
Look, while that shit going on, I'm gonna be taking my hiatus. I'm gonna be gone for 6 months. Right? I'm gonna be. I already don't like doing social media. I never liked social media ever. The only reason I'm on here is because it gives me the furthest reach to the grassroots. And they have to be made. The information got to be made available to them. They don't got to believe me. All they got to do is just keep ignoring me and just watch. I'm gonna be straight, but if some of them ain't gonna make it, like I told you, they turning off the lights. That's the signal, right? They shutting down the electric grid. The excuse they're gonna use is a solar flare, but it's really gonna be them turning that shit off in real time. They trying to turn it off before the solar flare hit. The one that they looking for ain't hit yet. If they don't turn it off, it's going to fry all of the systems, and then it's going to be months before they get infrastructure in the electromagnetic grid back up.
So can you explain the flares for the people that really don't know what that is and how that affects?
Right. So the sun have explosions on it. These explosions release massive amounts of electromagnetic energy, UVAs, UVBs into the earth. And when it get here, it has an effect on your melanin. It has an effect on your central nervous system, but it also affects our electrical system of the planet.
That's correct.
So when the system, the way it's set up now, if they don't turn it off when the major flare that they waiting on, they gonna have 6 minutes to shut it off from the time they find out that massive explosion occurred on the sun before them rays hit the earth. They're gonna have about 6 to 9 minutes. Once that happens, they just gonna shut it off. They're not gonna ask nobody for permission. And they have to do it because if they don't, it's gonna overburden the wiring and fry wires everywhere. They're not going to be able to reboot the system. But they're not going to know until that explosion happens, because it's been happening in smaller, small explosions. This shit is natural with the sun. What's not going to be natural is them shutting the electric off. That's going to be man-made.
Right.
Now, in the process, they was the Bush Clan, the garden plot to eliminate us was to use EMP and fry the system so we can't turn it off and preserve it. It has to be turned off, but they're not going to even be able to tell you in time enough for you to make any contingency when that flare comes. You know, they already turned off the Schumann resonance recorder about a week ago. The reason they did that is because that's telling you that the constant increase in the vibration, the grid is about to flip. When the electromagnetic grid flip, it's going to be time to that explosion on the sun. They know it's going to happen. It happened before. It happened in a similar manner every so often. And they can time it based off the position of the stars.
Right.
Because they all work hand in hand. So where the earth is in relation to the sun, where the sun is in relation to Orion, Sirius, Pleiades, and Arcturus, tells them when it's coming. They can use the star map and time it damn near to the minute. They can't get it to the second, but they can get it to the minute. They know, they just not telling us.
Right. So, in other words, basically people are going to actually be under certain types of conditions based on them not knowing, and basically listening to the brothers and sisters that's out here disseminating this information to put them in the know. And it's going to cause them to be pretty much on some last minute preparation shit. Like, y'all could have had all this time to prepare if y'all would have listened, but now it's too late pretty much.
This is why everybody keeps saying the purge is coming. You imagine when all these people, they gonna raid the grocery stores, that's coming. When they realize that everything is down and they don't know when it's coming back up, they just gonna panic. And in the panic, the first thing they're gonna do is raid the grocery stores.
Right.
When you see the people raiding the grocery stores, you already know right then that the shit, because it's not gonna be on no TV or news. It's not going to be on the radio. All that shit going to be turned off.
Right.
And that's what's going to make people panic, because they're not going to have any information source to tell them, what the fuck is this going on? So they're not.
Is crazy.
Yeah, so they're not going to be ready. And we all know proper preparation prevents poor performance, and all of them is improperly prepared to perform properly. Right? So they creating the condition that they're gonna see when this shit happen by their level of understanding of the condition as a whole.
Wow. So that's yeah, that's gonna be big. Time wise, how long do you think that it's gonna be before all of this stuff comes to a full head?
It could be any minute. Truthfully speaking, it's imminent, and imminent means that it can happen at any minute without nobody knowing. But they gave us a couple of signs. The Queen Elizabeth burial or funeral is Monday.
Okay.
Right? Look at the number on the date. Okay, then the Pope gave them to the end of September because the fiscal year ends in October. So they had to the end of September to get everything in before the end of the fiscal year. The fiscal year is when you calculate, or the closing of the fiscal year is when you add up all of your wealth before you do anything with it. It's a corporate practice.
Right.
Right. So the annual year may end in December, but the fiscal year ends in October.
Okay.
Right. So the Pope has to have everything in enough time for it to be counted for the fiscal year. Right. The fiscal year is closing. They've been working per diem in the United States. Right. The country has been artificially floating per diem, I mean by the day, based on the contracts people been under. Now we at critical mass. It's enough people that left their jobs took their children out of this motherfucking slave trading system they call a school. And now everything is starting to come to a head. Because the lizard bitch been dead since like 2018. And you know the day that she died because the crest fell off the gates of Buckingham Palace. That wasn't an accident, that was a sign. If you look at Prince Charles, King Charles, whatever the fuck he want to call himself tomorrow, but if you look at him at the funeral, how disheveled he looked, that's the Cowtoe ritual of them Sandy Lodge.
Okay.
Right? His tie is the cable tie, the cow tie. And then he got his dish shot. Only thing he didn't do is have his pants leg up. That's it.
So what was the point of delaying putting people in the know that Queen Elizabeth had died?
Wait a minute, ask that question again.
What was the point of delaying putting out the information that the Queen Elizabeth had died?
Because it's critical things that follow that. First of all, it's a signal for a power change.